you're past 40, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Yes, I'm a little bit past 40, yeah. See, I'm still young. Have we had a 40-year president since the last time we had?
But you're past 40. I mean, even if you're president today, you would not, well, you might qualify as young, but...
Have you had the privilege of reading the Not Too Young to Run bill?
My point is, you could have run any time you wanted to. The Not Too Young to Run bill, you were not waiting for the Not Too Young to Run bill.
I wasn't waiting at all.
To be able to run.
Yes, I wasn't waiting.
Yes.
But you know, when APC announced the prices of the forms, all political parties accuse APC as coming with that amount of money or with that price as a tacit style of excluding the young people, because where else can they get the money?
You didn't agree with them?
With the money?
No, with the people who criticized the APC for, imposing such stiff, monies to buy forms.
I had a course where I explained
yeah.
that if you're a young person coming into office, right, if you have caught a niche for yourself and you go on air and say, I am running for an office and I want you to support, and the price is 45 million, you can get 100 million.
But let's talk about constitutional amendments.
Right.
You have always, canvassed for state police. It's something that your party wanted to push as well. They promised the people that when they were coming in. But right now, it's 3 years down the line, if not more. And, we're yet to hear anything going in that regard. The best we've heard is reformation of SARS, which people still say is a change of name. Not much has happened there.
I believe in state police. I will advocate for state police. And the party believes in it. However, having read and having listened to the arguments of people across the board, I realized that we have failed to consider certain salient areas. For example, you cannot give states powers to create police without certain constitutional amendment. You know that the governors are the problem in the nation. They cut the deal in everything. And even at this moment, you see how governors use the police in the state to harass opponents. We have to amend certain areas of the Constitution, such as qualifying Section 308, and bringing certain criminal liability that the governor will not have immunity on. For example, we can amend the Constitution and say, if the governor is involved in the use of talks against his opponent, if the governor uses the machinery of the state against his opponent, that will constitute a criminal offense punishable by this and this and this, for which the governor will be tried without prejudice to the fact that he is in the office. If we amend that constitution, then I'm up not just for the state police, I'm also in support of devolution of power. But without this, I can tell you, the governors, by the time you create the police without certain amendment of the constitution, you're going to find that the governors are going to be more powerful than the president. And if there is a problem in a state, before there will be federal intervention, it becomes such, it will assume a monumental profession that we will not be able to solve it.
The question right now is, how do people trust? That's the question. Because if at the end of the day, your party promised, these are bright ideas that people like you are now bringing on board. I mean, these ideas, as far as people are concerned, were always available to the party, assuming they wanted to really implement state police. But they felt that, reforms were not really on the mind of the APC.
I would ask you this question. How do you expect if the president of America comes to Nigeria and rule in the country under the climate that we have found ourselves in the last 3 years, there is nothing he can do. We have had in the past 3 years a government that is being resisted by the National Assembly. No government on earth will rule in Nigeria in the past 3 years would have succeeded. We have a National Assembly that is self-centered. We have a National Assembly that close their eyes from salient laws of the country that will make life better for Nigeria.
The National Assembly has faced that accusation since 1999. It has been accused of being self-centered, but in many instances it has maintain that it is because it wants to retain its independence. In fact, they argue that the moment the president, an executive president, becomes a member of the National Assembly, they might find themselves in the same position as they have always, accused the National Assembly of being in a quest to maintain their independence.
If you ask me, I will tell you the reason is because we are gradually going into a state of decline as far as the legislature is concerned. We are getting more governors in the National Assembly than we are getting, people who are legislative-minded. When you have an executive, somebody who has ruled for 8 years as an executive, comes to the National Assembly, comes with that mentality, and finds it hard to work with another executive. But when you have legislators with that kind of orientation, then they will make laws for order, peace, and good government. That is why.
How bright do you think your chances are with these direct and indirect primaries? You know, your party has said in some instances they will go with indirect primaries, in some instances they will go with direct primaries. Some people even say that that is illegal, that you're going to challenge that the Constitution says it is either or. You cannot be picking and choosing. You can't cherry pick which one you want.
It is clear that the Constitution of the party says either of them, right? But there is what is called party direction, because the Constitution of the party does not operate without directives from those who function and operate and execute that Constitution. And the people who execute are the national officers. If the NEC decided that you can do direct, but there are circumstances under which indirect will be permitted, one which is crisis. The question is there a crisis in the FCT? There's no crisis. So there is no basis for not having a direct primaries here. And I'll tell you why direct primaries is important. Anybody who is advocating for indirect primary, in my opinion, should be ashamed of himself.
Whatever the situation is, do you think that whichever one your party decides to go with here in the FCT, what are your chances?
If my party decides on direct primaries, I can win while sipping a cup of coffee. If my party decides on indirect primaries, then it comes down to the officers, the executives at all levels, whether the vision I try to sell to them, they buy it. Now, I cannot guarantee for you that if it is indirect, I must win, because a lot is involved. The reason why people call for indirect is because of the money that's being spent. I don't have the money to spend. I have a vision, but I have a testimony. The president of the country didn't have money and he won. So I believe I will win.
Okay, let's see how that goes. It's just a couple of days away, the primaries. We wish you all the best. But as an aside, you have said that, you know, the chances of the president and perhaps the chances of your party depends largely on how he's handled farmers' herdsmen crisis. Do you think that matter has been successfully handled as we're going into 2019?
I personally believe that up until the last few months, the administration has not handled the farmers' herdsmen effectively, and I believe it hasn't handled it because of the kind of advice that the president gets. You know, you run based on the advice you get from the people you appointed, because the management of the crisis is not just militarized. It involves also engaging the people. When you're sending Inspector General of Police who is in conflict with the people, then you are not likely to find a result. But if you look at the past few months, you have seen a drastic change from the perspective of the president. And I'm saying so also without closing my eyes to the fact that politicians are taking advantage of it, especially opposition, politicians in opposition, fueling this crisis to undermine the government. So I am not excusing the government. I am rather applauding the government because we have seen a degree of success. But I will not close my eyes to the fact that we have not handled it in the degree that we ought to have handled it in the past. And that comes down to the same point I told you when we started, that I will never change in my principle. I would rather back out at any point I feel that my principles are questioned. But I'm also learning. I can express opinion that may be wrong. If I express an opinion that is wrong, I will be happy to accept the mistake and then move on as a person in life.
Daniel Bwala, thank you for coming on Hard Copy.
Thank you.
Well, that's the program tonight, but as always, we look forward to your responses. Please write to hardcopy@channelstv.com or tweet @CTV Hardcopy. Thank you for watching. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf. Good night.